All righty. We are got the Nutritional Edge coming back to y'all, getting everything going. I'm just making sure that everything's going flowing smooth. And yep, we are on. We're good to go. And today, as you can tell, it's just me out right now. And reason for that is because Nathan is out in Texas. Him and his wife are doing a nice little retreat for the week, and they're going to be off for the duration of this week, which means I get a little solo episode. And in order to make sure that this episode is flowing good, I am going to open this door up so then that way the Wi-Fi is flowing the way that it should. And that way I can give you guys content needs. So Nutritional Edge, and what the heck could a chiropractor, doctor of the nervous system, actually do for that? First things first, like I was saying earlier, it's just gonna be me today. Just me. Nathan's out in Texas right now, so I got a little solo dolo episode coming to y'all live. And honestly, I'm just going to kind of free flow it. And I'm actually excited to be able to do this because I can go in a little bit on the nervous system and its impact with nutrition um, and gut brain connection, vagus nerve, but also a concept I've been really thinking about lately and learning about has been neurochemicals and how what we think makes us feel, thus how we feel then makes us think. And with that, with that being said, if how we feel makes us think, and if we're not feeling good, especially when it comes down to food, if how we feel makes us think, and if we're not eating well and not nourishing ourselves with good food, then it makes sense, then we're not going to think good. And there's a huge epidemic of lack of mental health, lack of mental well-being, where people aren't thinking good. And so what they do to then try to make them think good or feel good is to get a little dopamine kick in the moment. And what's that dopamine kick in the moment? Probably snacks, probably munchies, probably having a nice little Pop Tart, or maybe they're going to have some alcohol, or maybe they are going to, I don't know, eat some French fries, eat some chips, snack munch, do some little things that might make them feel good in the moment that actually aren't good for them in the long run. So if how we think makes us feel and how we feel makes us think, then goes to show that eating quality food and eating things that actually nourish our body are going to make us feel good. Thus, it's going to have a positive impact on how we think. So let's back this up real quick. So, what are foods? How could eating actually impact how we think, how we feel? Well, first off, what we eat is actually governing everything that occurs in our body and what it's going to be composed of. So if I want my body to feel good and to operate the way that I intend on pushing it to in order to get the things done during the day that I want to get done, then it makes sense I need good fuel. Like, I'm not if I go to the gas station and I go to fill my car up, I'd rather use really good fuel than bad fuel, especially if I have like a 2018 Corvette Viper, something just super smooth, super quick. It's an absolute roadster. Like, I'm not going to give it some low end petroleum, just unrefined gas. I want to give that absolute, just high octane fuel because I want that thing to do what it's designed to do. And if we're not giving ourselves that fuel, then what do we expect the output to be? It's like, oh, I know I eat good, but I can't help it. What do you mean you can't help it? It's because food can actually, like, it can be an addiction for sure because we get stuck on that dopamine kick. And it's how our brain is actually has such a big implication on what determines like what we eat, like cravings and everything. Like, it's literally from just our microbiome and what's going on with the bacteria in our gut, and also taste buds, which really are just neurochemical feedback from our gut microbiome, um, to then dictate like what we want to eat. For maybe it's a Ben and Jerry's half baked ice cream. It's like I have to have this ice cream every night. So you're conditioning yourself to eat that same thing over and over and over again. Then it makes sense you're gonna get stuck into a habit, get stuck into a behavior, and then it's gonna be really hard to get out of it. So what are ways that we can eat to improve the quality of our mind, the quality of our body? First off, I actually just want to show this diagram right here. It's called I drew it up. It's actually from a doc, one of our specific docs out in Chattanooga, Chris Collins. But it's called the Health House. This is called a health house, and really there's five pieces to the health house. The first one is function. That's our foundation, which is our nervous system. The three beams that are holding up the house and also making a nice sturdy foundation for our roof is exercise, nourishment, and sleep. These are the beams of the house. And then we have the actual roof itself, which is our mental well-being. So if nourishment is a beam that's holding up the roof, then a roof that is our mental well-being, then it makes sense that what we eat has an impact on what we think. And also, if I have a bad roof that's leaky, where that water and rain can seep through and get into the roof itself, then it makes sense that the roof can thus have a negative impact on the beam, and how we think then can impact how we eat. So if I'm thinking bad, if I'm stressed out, maybe I have a test or work hasn't been going good, or something's going on at home, that makes sense. I'm going to stress eat and eat things that are allegedly going to make me feel good in that moment, but are going to be detrimental for me in the long run. And when that occurs, then we get stuck. Because if we don't, if wow. So if we don't think good, if we have a stressor that's going on at home or at work or something in our life, something that's stressing us out, and we stress eat, the stress eating is due to us wanting to feel good in that moment. But then in that moment, we might feel good from the thing that we ate, but it's not going to be supplemental and supportive for us in the long run. Thus, in the long run, we're actually going to feel worse. Thus, we're going to think worse. And if we think worse, then we're going to get back into that craving and desire to have the thing that might make us feel good in that moment, versus kind of sitting back and having the objective discipline of being like, okay, shoot, like I'm in a rut right now. Like, what do I need to do to clean this up? What can be done? It's not eating that Ben and Jerry's half baked ice cream right now. It's I need to have some discipline and actually give myself good food because it's part of my health house. If I can get this thing to be actually nourished and filled up and have a really strong beam, that gives an opportunity for not only that to be strong and sturdy, but everything else to be strong and sturdy. Have a really good roof. It also feeds into your foundation, which is your nervous system function. And then it's going to peter over into how we exercise, because if I feel good, I'm probably going to exercise good. If I feel good, I'm probably going to sleep good. And if I feel good, I'm going to think good. So we're starting to see how all these are actually overlapped by themselves and on each other, and why you have to tend to all five and not just one. We can't hope that we're going to have a really as strong of a house as possible if I only tend to one beam and neglect all the other four. Or even on the flip side, if I tend to all four and neglect one or the other, then I'm still have a susceptible house. If I have a susceptible house, then it's going to make sense that over time something's going to give, and these others are going to be impacted because they have to bear more weight, bear more stress, which is going to result in them faltering later down the line. We have to tend to all five of these. We can't just tend to one. We can't tend. We even people who are at home, outlook, mental health is good, exercise is good, nourishment is good, sleep is good, yet they're still unwell, still not thinking well. What is that underlying root thing? More than likely not functioning good. That's where that comes into play. And there's plenty of people out there that think good, sleep good, move good, eat good, and yet they're still unwell. Or like people that do those things feel good and they're like, what could I do to even enhance that further? How do I know if my light bulb is only at 80% and not 100%? It could be at 100%, but I would like to know. That's where getting the function of your foundation of your nervous system tested is so important. And with that, how's our nervous system have an impact on our actual diet, nutrition, everything? Well, we eat food. So I'm about to, in a little bit after this, I'm going to eat a salad. Yeah, I'm going to have a salad. There is spinach, bell pepper, sweet potatoes, purple sweet potatoes, beans, cucumbers in there. And also, my salad dressing is olive oil times balsamic. pretty tasty. Now, if I consume that, I'm going to want to make sure I get those nutrients. There's a ton of micronutrients in that salad, such as magnesium, calcium, selenium, manganese, um, just a bunch of micronutrients contained within vegetables itself. But I want that to, like, it's one thing to get it into my body, but it's like I need that to be accessible. I need that to be able to get used. In order for that to be acceptable and get used, I need to be able to digest and absorb it properly. Digestion happens in our stomach, absorption happens in our small intestine, and then really clearing out the final pieces of the puzzle and also starting to flush out any kind of fluid with that, and preparation for bowel that happens in the large intestine. So when we have stomach and small intestine, we want to make sure that those are functional. What's dictating my stomach working? Nerves. What's dictating my small intestine from being able to properly absorb and get access to all the nutrients that are possible from that salad I just ate? Because it's one thing to eat a salad, it's another thing to get the nutrients from it. We got to make sure we're getting the nutrients from it. How do I know I'm getting the nutrients from it? If I know objectively that my nervous system is functioning properly. What nerve is governing all of those? Primarily, it's our vagus nerve. Primarily, our vagus nerve is governing all of those functions, which originates from the level of the top two bones of the neck. It controls 90% of our parasympathetic function, and also about 90% of our organ function as well. So we have, when I say parasympathetic, what does that mean? We have two sides of our autonomic nervous system. Two sides. We have parasympathetic, sympathetic. Digestion, absorption happens in parasympathetic. That's the only way it can occur, is if we are in that state. If we're in that state, we're good. That's what we want. If we're not in that state, we're stuck in sympathetic, then we're going to have decreased digestion, decreased absorption. Stuff's not going to go well, and that is how we're actually probably going to get inconsistent gut motility, inconsistent bowel movements. That's where like nausea, vomiting stuff's going to come through. And when we have impaired gut health, um, that's also when we're going to start seeing implications with our microbiome, and then how our mental health is going to thus falter. Like mental health, well-being, feelings of happiness, that comes from a neurotransmitter called serotonin. Neurotransmitter called serotonin, 90% of that is made in our gut, not even made in our brain. So it goes to show how impactful it is that if we eat good, we're going to feel good. And if we feel good, we're going to think good. It's all working together in a streamless seam. And then not one part can afford to be neglected. Because if it is neglected, then it's going to allow something to be susceptible in my health house. We want to have a sturdy health house. And you can totally tell the people going down the line, up and down the road, in Walmart, in Kroger, those who have a healthy health house, a sturdy health house, a strong health house, and a weak, stable, cracked, I could kick this over. It's like the three pigs, um, and the wolf that tried blowing their house over. I forget what that story is called, but yeah, the pigs that had a house made of paper, and then you have a pigs that had a house made of wood, and then pigs that had a house made of brick. Like, I want my house to be made of brick. I want my house to be made of brick, and I want my Corvette to have high octane gas fuel, not necessarily the crappy fuel that everybody else might be having. So, what's good fuel? What is the source of fuel? Personally, um, the source of fuel, honestly, is protein. Like, I can't say it enough. If In order for all the things that we do to occur, like we have, I mean, first off, so protein, actually, what we need from the protein is amino acids. There are 20 amino acids, 10 essential, 10 essential, 10 non-essential. Non-essential meaning that our body is able to create it itself. Essential meaning that we need supplementation from it, aka from food. So we have 20 of them, 20 amino acids, and they all govern different functions in our body. They all are composed of things. So what makes a protein up is when we have more than 7 of those amino acids strung together in a chain, bonded chemically. A peptide is anywhere from like three to seven. Typically, it's like 3 amino acids chained together to start making something happen. We consume and 60% of the protein that we use is used to just repair our gut lining because every 3 days we have a new gut tube. Every 3 days we're fluffing it off. When we have bowel movements, we're actually there's parts of our gut lining that are getting fluffed off and then it has to get recreated. So our body is actually allocating resources to be able to supplement that, and that's where majority of the protein intake that we occur goes to it. So if we want to, if like say hypothetically we're exercising good, we're sleeping good, and we're thinking good, but we're eating like crap. Well, I'm exercising good, and I might have the intent of that exercise be like, I want to be strong and sturdy when I'm older. Hypothetically, let's roll with that. I want to be strong and sturdy when I'm older. I know that in order for me to go exercise, I need to get my sleep because I like exercising when I am awake and alert and not tired. And when I exercise good and I sleep good, I think good. But honestly, I don't like eating that good. I like drinking my diet soda. I like eating my fried foods. I don't even know. I've never even heard of olive oil. I just use vegetable oil, canola oil, all this inflammatory garbage. Um, and I neglect it. I neglect that nourishment. I neglect all those functions. If I exercise because I want to um, be strong and healthy when I'm older, that means I want to have some kind of muscle and strength in my legs or in my body overall. In order to have increased muscle getting laid down day after day, like when we exercise, we tear muscle down and then our body has to build it back up and it builds it back up when we sleep. And the resources that it uses to build it back up is from the food that we eat. So if we're not eating good and clean, then it makes sense that I'm not going to be able to repair the muscles that just got torched in the workout I just did. And in addition, if I'm not consuming enough protein itself, then I'm not going to have any left over to for the muscles that I'm using because it's being all wasted on trying to repair my gut day in day out because A, I have to do that every 3 days, and B, I'm eating like crap, so I actually don't even get that going. It's highly important to get that in. And across the board, when you look at all these top doctors, um, physiologists, neuroscientists, all these people who are hyper dialed in on health span, longevity, that's a huge key word coming in right now. What are they going in on? They're saying across the board, eat a gram of protein per body weight. So if I weigh 150 pounds, that means I need to be consuming roughly 150 grams of protein. And with that being said, when you consume that much to that degree, then you're actually going to feel fuller longer. You're going to be consuming high nutrient dense foods that have a lot of benefits for not only digestion, not only for enzymes, not only for acids that need to be created, but also for muscle synthesis, brain function, sleep, hormones. Like those are all from um, healthy proteins. Like we need that to a T. So what's an easy way to try to make sure I'm getting that in is to consume about 30 to 50 per meal. So the standard person is having breakfast, lunch, dinner. Now let's be real, we're also having snacks. We're probably snacking a lot. If you can have higher protein snacks, then win, dub. So protein, lunch, dinner. What could that even look like? An easy way to get that in breakfast is to have like 3 or 4 eggs scrambled, throw some beans in there, and have some yogurt, and you're already above 30. Cool. Okay, that's pretty close. And then at lunch, an easy way to do that is to have some ground meat, turkey, beef, whatever it is. Have about like 6, 7 ounces of it. You have 6, 7 ounces of it. That's gonna be pretty dang close to 50. And then at dinner, rinse, repeat, do the same thing. Maybe throw a chicken in there, maybe throw a steak in there, whatever it is. And when we have those going on, um, then it makes sense that we're going to be able to get that amount in there. And when we stack that up days over time, weeks at a time, months at a time, then we start gaining momentum. It's going to result in a complete body composition change too, because we are what we eat at the end of the day. So if I eat like 70 grams of protein and the rest of my stuff is carbs and leaves, then it makes sense I'm going to be as strong as a leaf. I don't know about you guys, but leaves fall off the tree in winter. I don't want no leaves falling off my tree. I want to be the tree. I want to be the tree that's sturdy right there that I'm looking at out this door, that is strong, sturdy, can sustain winter, and can live years at a time. A leaf is gone every year, and a leaf is flimsy. It flaps in the wind. The wind can knock it down, knock it off, put it on the ground, and leaves can't get up from the ground. So don't be a leaf. Be the tree. Be the tree trunk. And just, there's no point in flapping in the wind like that. It's not fun. So we don't be flimsy. We don't be flimsy. And diet plays a huge role in that. Huge role in that, and of course, nervous system function as well. Those are the critical pieces. In addition to that, and we want to have high functioning coordination of our system, of our physiology, of how our human body works, we also need to have healthy fats. Fat has been kind of demonized over the years. Everything, all the labels on everything, they say fat free. And the reason they say that is because trans fat is the enemy, not saturated or unsaturated fat. In fact, I think trans fat has been banned in most states. Also, Skittles got banned in California, which is kind of crazy. In addition to that, carbs are now being villainized, and I think the issue is actually refined carbs are the villains, not complex carbs. So complex carbs, where can we get source of that? Like sweet potatoes, beans, um, zucchini, berries, complex carb. Like those are all things like our body needs sugar to run. Like that's fuel. It requires that, and they can get some from excess storage from our body that it contains to use for energy. Um, Mobilizing glucose storages that might be contained in our muscles or subcutaneous fat, or maybe even mobilize some fat that got placed onto our viscera, onto our organs. But it needs it to run over extended periods of time. And if you think about it, our body is running for about 80 years per body. That's a pretty long time. Like if I did 80 times 365, that's around 24,000 days. Probably more because there's 65 times 80 as well. So that's an additional 4,000 days. So we're looking at about like 29,000 days of life, day in, day out. And that's a lot of days. When we stack that up, that takes a that's a marathon that our body's trying to run. And we aren't even running a marathon. We're just trying to live life day in, day out. And living life itself is a marathon, not a sprint. We get stuck in the sprint. We get stuck in the now. Instead of thinking like, hey, how is this going to impact me down the line? We're just like, I just need to feel good now. So what can I feel good now? It's gonna be cracking up that bottle, pouring myself a glass, and now boom, I feel good in this moment. But an hour later, when the palpitations and the heartbeat and the breathing and the headache starts coming on, you're like, shoot, I messed up. I shouldn't have done that. And it comes down to choosing your regrets. Oh, this is such a good concept. Choosing your regrets. Would you rather regret not having that bag of chips, or would you rather regret not feeling crappy the next morning? If the options of what I could regret right now is not having the bag of chips or not feeling crappy the next morning, I'm probably going to choose not having the bag of chips as a regret I'd rather have. Because if I feel bad the next morning, then it's like, then you're gonna wake up the next morning like, dang it, I messed up. Then all of a sudden you regret it. It's like, but that bag of chips, was that bag of chips worth it? No, it wasn't. So then don't have the bag of chips. But we get stuck. We don't know how to actually like operationalize and mechanize the decision making behind eating the bag of chips. The only reason we're eating the bag of chips is because it's in our house because we bought it. So if we don't buy the chips, then it's not even in our environment. Then it's not even an option. Then it comes down to options and choices, all the way going back to the grocery store and how we shop at the store. It's like if you literally don't buy the thing that's causing you the issue, A, you're going to free up money to go buy other things that might actually help you out. Or B, you're not going to, and then B, you're not going to have the chips in the fridge at the same time or in the cabinet or wherever the heck the chips are at, to have them be an option to snack on and munch on. Because at the end of the day, when we constantly stimulate our gut and consuming food, we're going to easily tack on weight week in, week out. Like I learned a thing last week or this week or whatever, where it was an extra, I think 500 grams, like a pint of ice cream. It was like a pint of ice cream a day or something. Pint of ice cream a day, 500, an extra 500 grams of food a day is going to result in like an extra 5 pounds per week, something like that, extra pound per week. Um, and if you do that for a year on end, obviously you're going to gain weight, especially if you're not doing anything to mitigate that kind of stuff. It's crazy how all these things work together. And the only way that we're gaining that weight is if we're eating bad, not exercising, thus not having the balance. Thus, we're not going to feel good. And it's also going to suppress proper nervous system function. It's going to impact our sleep. And if we don't feel good, we don't think good. Now we're going to have a bad mental well being. And if we don't think well, then we're going to have cracks in the roof of our health house. And then our exercise, nutrition, and sleep are going to get worse because we're not thinking good. Thus, we're not probably not going to exercise. We're not going to eat good. And if we don't do those things, then we're definitely not going to sleep good. And all of a sudden, we have a snowball and we're right back down to our foundation. Our nervous system is jacked up. It comes all the way down from the top of the house to the bottom of the house. If we don't think good, we don't feel good. We don't feel good. We don't think good. It's all connected. It's all neurochemicals, vagus nerve, gut brain connection. You can do all the things that you want to do, but if your nervous system isn't functioning good luck. And if we're not eating good, like eating good is so fundamental, and it's really not that hard to do. People are like, oh man, I just can't figure it out. It's like, no, you just can't do it day in day out because you don't have the discipline. You know, the discipline to just do that boring thing over and over and over again because you don't have your purpose set up, you don't have your goals set up, you don't understand what it is you're even doing it for. You just I'm just eating to eating. Like, do you even know why you eat? Like, you never even established that. Just like, why am I even eating right now? What is it for? Oh, because it's lunchtime or because I'm hungry. It's like, okay, like have some kind actual kind of purpose and intent with it versus just being like, oh, like maybe it might be like that short term thing of like, okay, I need to eat because I have a busy afternoon. I want to have a good afternoon. Cool, purpose. At least we understand what we're eating for. But people who just mindlessly eat, like they can't sit with the fact that they don't feel good. So they use food to make sure that they feel better in that moment, but it's going to result in them not feeling good in the long run. That's really, I mean, that right there is a nutshell of why people mindlessly eat and why they mindlessly can't get over the hump of them eating cleaner and not being able to not eat clean. That's why they can't get over the hump. It's because they are stuck in, I just need to feel better in this moment. Oh, I just can't eat well. Tough. Do it. That's what it comes down to. I'm feeling pretty satisfied with that. Had a couple people come on. I'm sure my mom's walking right now. What's up, mom? How you doing? Hope this puts a smile on your face. Hope you're getting a nice hill in at hitting the legs. You know your legs need it. Go for it. I'm gonna ask you tonight when you're gonna go see Dr. Ruck twice a week. I'm getting on you for that. Come on. We need that shoulder move for swimming. Yeah, you know I'm talking to you. Health House, this thing is sweet. I'm showing this to all my people right now. It looks like a Roman Colosseum or a Greek Parthenon or something. It's a fantastic drawing and just great reminders for the people. But since it's just me today, and I pretty much just went on a nice, healthy nutrition rant, I'm signing off because I got people at 1 and I want my salad. Pretty much it. So without further ado, that's week 4 Nutritional Edge coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube. Peace.